everyone. Welcome to Turned Out a Punk. My name is Damian, and today on the show, my new pal, Chris Candy, is here. Chris plays in Bull Shannon, a fun band with 3 bass players, an awesome new band, but also he has helped produce 2 of my favorite documentaries that came out this last year. First, the Bill Bartel documentary, which if you need to find out more information, you can check out the episode with Jordan Schwartz and Dave Markey. Thank you to Jordan Schwartz for actually connecting us for this episode. It's an amazing movie. We'll talk about it. We talk about it a lot on this episode. But also, he has produced helped produce a new documentary about his late father, John Candy, I Like Me. Man, this documentary is a beautiful tribute to one of my favorite comedians, actors of all time. I cried like a baby watching this thing, and I'm sure some of you will too. It will be premiering on Amazon October the 10th. And it's also going to be doing a run of theatrical shows coming up. So hopefully it's playing in a town near you. Go and see this movie if you get the chance, or stream it, or go to someone's house who has it and just watch it there. Just see this movie. It is a great, great film. Opened the Toronto Film Festival. And Chris, while he was in town, was kind enough to come over to the chaos that is the Turned Out a Punk studio and put up with my weird, shoddy video setup. He definitely wound up holding the camera for part of it. And we had a great conversation. And Chris is someone who loves punk rock, was deeply, deeply affected by this music, as you'll hear on this episode, and is kind of a bridge between 2 of my favorite worlds in SCTV and comedy and punk. Or 3, I guess that's 3. Well, comedy and SCTV are kind of one world. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on anymore. Check out Bull Shannon. There's a link to them in the description for this episode. They're on Instagram and all those sorts of fun places. And also check out the Bill Bartel documentary and the John Candy documentary. Both they're contenders for the Turned Out a Punk Oscar this year. I'll tell you that much. This show is, of course, produced and guest booked by Tristan Abraham, my brother. Thank you, Tristan, for all the hard work you do. You can reach us at turnedoutapunkpodcast@gmail.com or at turnedoutapunk on various social media platforms. And that's it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy Chris Candy on Turned Out a Punk. All right, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Damian.
You have, as I said 2 seconds ago before I hit record, you have gone through the ringer so far, learning with me as I've tried to discover the room's technical capabilities. It's rare that people come over. It's rare that people are willing to come over. So, the last people that were here, though, you're in good company, was me first and the Gimme Gimmes.
Oh, no shit.
So
was it Spike?
Spike was here, and then CJ was here.
Okay.
And then John Reese was here as well.
So they went through like a change, right? Because I don't know those guys very well, but I was on the Vans Warped Tour with that band. The whole tour in like 2003, they were on it. So I kind of was around them adjacent. Yeah. But Fat Mike's no longer in the band, right?
No, Fat Mike's no longer in the band. Joey Cape's no longer in the band. Like you're saying, I think they had like almost a complete overhaul at a certain point.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Not that John Reese isn't a great front person in his own right.
Yeah, totally.
But having a band full of lead singers... That's a suicide mission.
Yeah, right. Well, they used to have like the tiki bar on the side of the stage, and they're a great fucking band. Oh my god,
they're a great band. They're like, and I think Spike is one of the greatest front people of all time because he's almost like
he was in Swinging Utters, right? Was that what?
He was in Swinging Utters, but I think that was after first in the Gimme Gimmes.
Oh, okay.
I think he was just like really good at karaoke.
Right.
That's how it all kind of came together for him. So
yeah.
So he doesn't have that lead singer ego, but Joey and Mike, they are lead singers, so I could, I think it's a little more chill.
Yeah, for days. Sure. He has like a little bit more control of the ship.
Yeah, but this is not about Joey Cape, Fat Mike, or Spike. This is about you and your journey, Chris. But I'm really intrigued by the fact that you have now produced 2 of my favorite documentaries this year.
Oh wow!
In the documentary about your father. But then also you were involved in the production of the Bill Bartel documentary a little bit as well, too.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I kind of, to go back, I know this guy Jordan Schwartz. Shout out Jordan.
Shout out to Jordan, yes.
We are Rip City locals. Rip City's the skate shop in Santa Monica. It's been around since 1978. And it was the place I got my first job. And I was in the 8th grade. And Jordan was like an old Rip City local, basically like a barfly who'd hang out there all the time. And he would always be walking around since I've been in eighth grade with one of his dogs coming in the shop, shooting the shit. And he was a punk rocker. And there was always kind of punk rock music adjacent ties to Rip City. And Dave Markey, who is the director of Secret Lives of Bill Bartel, he was also kind of a customer of the store. But I didn't come to know Dave later. It was really, Jordan talking to me about Dave because they had that whole zine that they were doing.
We got the power.
Yeah, we got power.
We got power.
We got power, and then they would do the weekly journal, I think it was called, and it was basically like a local zine. But they just had the essence of punk rock, and Dave was looking for some help finishing the first pass of Secret Lives of Bill Bartel, and I'd never heard who Bill Bartel was. But I love stories of people who are connectors, who kind of bring a larger group of people in sync together. And then I always loved Dave's Slog video, which was like an old kind of collection of punk rock stuff. There's a Rip City commercial in it from Rip City. Historically, they did the Black Flag skateboard. I think the only Black Flag board that was ever really created, and there was 4 or 5 of them, and we had 4 of them at the store.
Oh, that's awesome!
Original Pettibone artwork, and it's kind of been its connection to punk rock. But Dave was looking to help finish the first pass of Secret Lives of Bill Bartel, and that's where I watched it. And like I was saying, Dave's like a connector, and it was such a cool story. And I knew people who knew Bill. I actually had a fun experience with Kim Shattuck in Montreal at the Pouza Fest before she passed, and it was Muffs were playing there, and I was playing in my friend's band, the Bruce Lee band. And it was the only reason I bring that up is because Kim was like, "Do you know Bill Bartel?" And I was like, "No." And so when I heard about the story, I thought of Kim. And so, yeah.
Yeah, Bill to me, like, I didn't know, I knew like White Flag, obviously, and I knew like, like his place in the music industry, but until you see that documentary, until you see how much he connects of different things.
Yeah.
Like, I had Billy Idol on the show after Dave and Jordan were on.
Really?
Yeah, and telling Billy Idol, like, how Generation X got signed by Kiss's manager? And he's like, well, yeah, because of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's not because of that. It's because of this. And just Billy Idol's, like, eyes opening up as he's finally able to put these pieces together.
Really? So you caught him in that moment?
Yeah, it was it was like a real, like, interesting, and he's like, I could tell, like, legitimately kind of like, oh, that's how it happened. Because the label was like, oh, yeah, he just randomly reached out because he dug your guy's band. But it's like, no.
Bill O'Coin.
Yeah, Bill Bartel was putting in the legwork with Bill O'Coin to get Bill O'Coin to call Chrysalis, and that's why this whole thing came together. And it was just, like, until you see that documentary, and I feel like you're saying, I love the connectors too, and the people that join these kind of disparate scenes.
Yeah.
But I can't think of more disparate documentary subjects than your father's career versus Bill's career and what they kind of. But they both seem like
Bill is still showing up somehow, and now he's 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon to the John Candy documentary.
Yeah, but he's almost Bill's got this, like, I finished that documentary and it's like, I feel like he was playing Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know what his alignment would be. Like, would it be
who, Bill?
Yeah, Bill, like chaotic neutral.
Yeah, Bill. I think Bill was. After watching that doc several times, I think he was a warm soul. I don't know, the kind of the table games there, but like he was definitely, like, from what I picked up, like a very good person. But he was a contrarian for sure. I think he looked at the ridiculousness of life, and I always find that interesting too. Like, I had the observation with the way he was ahead of his time, obviously, to talk about that, but there is this thing that's happening in the world, especially in the States, which is terrible. But where is counterculture? You have police officers with black flag tattoos. It's where is the true counterculture? And so I think a guy like Bill Bartel was always able to see where it was and then be a few steps ahead of it.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, fucking cops are beating up punks, fuck the cops. And then he's like, well, I'm going to go be a cop,
Yeah.
And it's like, what? And it's like, yeah, like what's more punk than that? And so really tests the ethos of the whole ideology.
Yeah, like his whole life was an art project. It seems like, just like you're saying, like from fetishizing police to becoming a cop to becoming this sort of like rodeo guy, which is
Yeah,
ultimately, not to spoil it, but like, tied into his demise. Like
sure.
it's like his whole life was kind of in service to this character that he
Yeah,
was kind of constructing.
totally. I think, and there are some similarities between the two documentaries with Bill's and my dad's, but I think inevitably the only, they the Bill story is super duper interesting because like he didn't have the pressures of fame on him, and he kind of just behaved however the hell he wanted to behave, and but I think maybe in the abuse of Diet Cokes and all of that stuff, and maybe Bill got into drugs later and stuff, and my dad with alcohol and food and cigarettes and stuff like that. Like I think there was that you could connect the dots of like uh, silencing anxieties and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, I think it all comes down to mental health
yeah,
stuff
you're
and like
totally
how
right.
you treat it.
Yeah,
And I think comedy and punk are like light bulbs that kind of attract the
right.
moths with mental health issues. I say this with a mental health issue moth kind of floating
Sure.
around in my brain.
Yeah, same.
Like we find, because there's like an outlet
Yeah,
through these things that you can kind of do
yeah,
on your own in a lot of ways. Like you don't really need to rely on like being on a team to necessarily make it. You can kind of like write your own destiny a little bit.
totally. A lot of us are just out there kind of like working through our shit, and some of us still are doing it. It's like, but yeah, a lot of the early music when I got into like writing music, and I never had any really popular band to the listeners out there, but I did play in a handful of punk rock bands, and like for sure, like it was just so much aggression and anger, and like, but I'm like, I look back on it now, and I'm like so stoked that that's the way it went out, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like that's like the positive way you know
Yeah.
you can put this kind of anger
Sure.
and stuff, because I've got definitely I got friends or people that maybe didn't find that outlet and didn't
Yeah,
become very nice people later
for
in
sure.
their lives as they're and I've had a lot of people on this podcast that were maybe not nice people, but kind of through the process of being into this music
Yeah.
gained some sensitivities and learned about other people and stuff. But
Yeah.
how'd you get into punk? Do you remember the first time you ever came across it?
It was really through ska music first, I think. I have an early memory of watching that movie Back to the Beach, which was Annette Funicello and Frankie Val or Avalon.
Frankie Avalon,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's this like kind of 80s like post surf,
Oh
like
yeah.
bizarro, post modern beach flick, kind of making fun of the genre of like the old school Beach Bunny tracks, and like Fishbone had a song Jamaica Ska on it that they covered with Annette, and I just remember being like a kid like this is the best music ever. And I just like loved that scene, and that whole movie's kind of got like SoCal vibes all over it. And there's like the punks, like the surfer punks and all that, and
Yeah,
so
like
that,
Paul Rubens in it too. Pee Wee
yeah,
Herman's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
appearance
Pee
in
Wee
it. I
Herman's
saw it
in
in the
it. Dick
theater when it
Dale's
came
in it.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just such like I own it on iTunes. It's just like a funny movie, and it started there, and really started with ska and like third wave ska music, and then I had a friend who lived down in Orange County. And they had a really big ska scene in the '90s, like kind of post No Doubt into like there was all kinds of different avenues of that happening. But through that, I would like come up on punk bands and stuff, and that was really the beginning of it. I think like early stuff I was listening to. Well, the first punk record I ever got was Operation Ivy for sure,
Yeah.
and that was like really the gateway drug because it was just like that was ska. It was also hardcore in a sense, and that was really the beginning of it. But it was all kind of within that world, and like in my time, uh, which is probably like a later time for you, it was like. Punk and ska were kind of married in the mid '90s, and a bunch of bands would play shows together, and so it wasn't like weird to be at like a gig, and it was like Blue Meanies and or who was it that opened for them one time? I'm trying to remember. It would just be a hybrid of bands playing together. It wouldn't just be like a full on ska show. It'd be like a ska band and like Agnostic Front would be
Yeah,
playing or
like
something
Voodoo
like
Glow
that.
Skulls would play with
Yeah,
like all sorts of different types of bands
yeah,
too.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there was like a lot more. Yeah, like it felt like it obviously got eventually big enough that you could kind of sustain its separate scene.
My friend George Walker, who also works at Rip City, he doesn't remember it, but he took me. He was like a chaperone for me because my mom would like. I didn't have like. He just like needed an adult to go. Anybody and like he's like the perfect adult for that. Rip City local, but he took me to a Keith Morris benefit show, and it was Nashville Pussy, Fishbone, the Vandals, and Pennywise, I think, played that
That's
show.
an awesome show.
Yeah, I was just like, and like that's also where I like saw Fishbone for the first time. I was just fucking blown away by them. They're a big band for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of the beginning, and then I always like was trying to start bands, and I had a punk band in 8th grade or a ska band, and then I you know, I think when I was in my college years, like I really got into Bad Brains and proper hardcore and stuff. Like my high school band, sorry I'm jumping all over the place, but I was in this band with this dude Kevin Gorman, Kevin Preston is really his name, but Kevin now plays backup guitar for Green Day. He's their like onstage guitar player.
Awesome.
And
I was like wondering, like I'm like, oh, there's another guitar player now too, because Jason there as well, and so my youngest kid who you met upstairs is a massive Green Day fan. So
yeah,
we went to the show and
well, yeah, was it good?
That was cool. It was very, very cool. Like it was like I'd seen Green Day, I guess, on the Warped Tour one time, but I never got to see him like actually play any sort of the earlier stadium kind of shows. So I
was actually talking to Todd Congealier. I'm going to be name dropping all over this podcast.
That's what this podcast is. Believe me, that's all I do on it.
Yeah, Todd's a buddy of mine, and he's like the punk rock mastermind of SoCal, in my opinion. He's like the godfather of SoCal punk. And he was talking to me about going with his daughter to like, I think they went and saw like Mac DeMarco, or I can't remember what, but we were talking about going to bigger shows.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of a trip, but it's also kind of fun.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like we've been to so many club gigs and all the shit, and it's like to go to these like big produced things, you know. He said he was having a good time with it.
It was cool. Like I got to see, and shout out to Todd. You're right. Todd's like one of the greatest legends of all time.
Oh, yeah.
But like I feel like you're saying, it's like a visit into another world that I like kind of willingly left. And no slight on these bands, because they're doing their best they can at it, but just like the way you interact with it is so different than it, like where I guess we ultimately went.
Yeah.
That I saw Weezer because Dinosaur Jr. opened.
Oh, sick.
And then luckily I interviewed Pinhead Gunpowder and got Green Day tickets after that.
Oh, whoa.
So I feel like I got at least in below the $1,000 threshold it would have been to get in there.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy how much tickets go for.
It's wild. It's very like, and I feel like you just kind of have to do it, because I think everyone saw with The Cure like how much of a fight it is to like lower your ticket price.
Right, because they always try to keep it affordable, those guys. And,
it's not always in your hands, I guess.
There's alternative ticket sites I think people are starting to use, and like they don't have to go through Ticketmaster necessarily, or you know, I feel like I'm starting to see more of that. To keep the tickets like affordable for people.
Yeah, but I feel like there's like been so much vertical integration in that kind of space that like you got a venue that's kind of controlled by the people that have the relationship with the ticketing place. And
there's a board game about it somewhere.
Yeah, I'm lucky that my band never got to the level of popularity that I really have to worry about it.
I know. My last band, we had like all the drama of Metallica and none of the success.
Yeah, that basically describes my band too.
Yeah.
It's like you watch that Some Kind of Monster and you're like, oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, I know.
That's baby shit compared to what we're dealing with over here.
But I will say, just to the high school band, Kevin plays now with Green Day, but what I was getting at is like we were like, I wanted it to be like a ska band, but the guitar player Kevin really wanted to be more like a Rocket from the Crypt thing, and we had a singer who was really he's passed away now, but his name was Mike Domingo, but he was really into the Valley and like Oxnard, like hardcore scene. He was this Filipino kid with
Narcore
like,
stuff.
Yeah, he was fucking into like, he had the big plugs in his ears and he was straight edge, and like he just was like into all of those bands. So his scream was really primal and really good, and like, so I got exposed to all different avenues of what the scene was offering at the time, and it's just I'm not finished. It's just like, now I'm in like Bill Bartel land, and I'm like listening to Red Cross more regularly, and I'm going back and listening to Muffs, and I'm learning about a lot of the older LA bands. Which has been fun because my early start was like, OC ska scene, Fishbone, Up Ivy, and then we can talk about it in a bit. Like the big kind of avenue and chapter for me is my friend Mike Park, who owns Asian Men Records. And he's like my brother, and he really is introduced me and exposed me to a ton of music and stuff like that.
And also like another person that connects so many
Big
different things.
Yeah, he's his own Bill Bartel, Mike Park,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, like I think for like a different era and a different scene, and generally a different kind of disposition than Bill Bartel. I've never met Bill Bartel, but I feel like
Right, I never did either. Yeah,
there's a real, like, that's the thing. When I finished that documentary, I'm like, it's such a great documentary because you don't come out loving necessarily Bill Bartel. You're
right.
Like, this is a flawed, very interesting human being. But
yeah.
no one really knows this guy. And he could have 100% been a CIA agent. Like, that's like, by the end of it's done, it's like, was he a CIA guy?
Yeah, exactly. Who is this guy really reporting back to? Yeah, he was. Yeah, Mike is similar to that. He's a little bit more. You're not worried about him working for a foreign government or anything like that.
No, he's lawful good, not
chaotic
neutral.
Have you met Mike before?
I've never met him, but he's certainly someone that I've like read about, and obviously the bands over the years, Skankapickle, all the way up to like stuff, and like there's been a lot of people that have been on the podcast that have put out records
right
on Asian Man records, and like he's someone that I it just never happened. Like I feel like that's the thing about this podcast is like there's just so many different facets to dive into.
Sure.
And it's someone I would love to have on the show. So at some point I would love to have him on because it's like a deep connector of all these like wild worlds, from like Danielle Steele to like the Broadways to
and then he was like his like connectivity to ska and what he's doing with Bruce Lee Band and like trying to like I always like what I'm getting at was like he's always like putting Fishbone on, like trying to help them out as much, and like they're such a band that has had so many chapters, and they're going through one right now. But like I always thought it was cool that he would like get like Angelo to like guest on like a Bruce Lee Band track and like kind of keep them relevant within the world and stuff, because I always just feel like those older bands that like didn't really get their full, like they're not going out in the way like Faith No More probably will go out and do shows, or like obviously Chili Peppers, but like they should, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's cool that they kind of get like honestly they get like the DIY blessing, which is like really cool.
Yeah, they feel like the band that is so much more important than they kind of get the place in like American music history.
Totally.
Like for like you're saying, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers to No Doubt to like all the things they inspired, to being in movies, to being part of like the LA kind of punk scene when it was kind of at its maybe most treacherous times.
Yeah, totally.
And like a hugely influential band, a band that we've worked many times to try and get Angelo on the show, and have had different scenarios kind of play out that have prevented that from happening. But still, like my brother was just talking to me about it the other day. Like I think we're gonna finally be able to do it. So,
that's great. Yeah,
it would be a huge thrill because there's all these people that I feel like the ripples these people cause. Let's try and fix that.
I got it.
Sorry about this.
No, it's all good.
This is very much. I'm not going to be like, okay, well, I definitely need a new thing stand, phone stand.
I think this will work.
It's got like a.
I like it. That works.
It's like that SCTV fake 3D effect going
on. Yeah, but anyway, I mean, Fishbone's the best. They're just like, they should, actually, honestly, they're doing exactly what they need to be doing right now. And they're in a great place, and they're playing, like, how many bands can say that they get to play a lot of these fun festivals or go and do these tours and have the people come out? Like, they've just gone through so many different, like, versions, so.
Yeah, I think that becomes, like,
I'd love Norwood to be back in the band, but
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things to do as a band is like, how do you keep everyone together?
yeah.
And how do you keep these different personalities? Because it's like a marriage on steroids.
It fully is, yeah, yeah. Like where you just like love and hate everybody at like various moments of the day, almost. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely. As someone who's spent way too much time with the band members, and I think we all know way too much about each other's
I
inner
know. God,
deficiencies, and
totally.
it's I understand it now. Like at times when I would see band members leave a band, I'd be like, those fucking assholes, or like
Yeah.
you pick a side. It'd be really easy to pick a side.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. Yeah, I noticed that, and that's what I was getting at with Mike too. Is like we kind of have always treated Fishbone like a little like telenovela or something, like like a daytime soap of like what's going on, like what's the new news,
Yeah.
who's back in the band, oh man, like Spacey T's back in, like we just like it's like trading stats, we're always in on the story, and it's fun for us, but they still sound great,
Yep.
and I'm really like stoked that they were like a big influence for me for sure. But yeah, that kind of is it. Like with punk, like it started that way, and then like I had a band in the 8th grade called Bay Street Hooligans. In high school, it was called Optimus Prime, that then turned into Sleeper Hold. And we were really, I was really influenced by all like the Asian Man stuff, and I was just basically like I was going to record stores, and I would like look in the thank you sections of all of the CDs, and that's how I'd find out about new bands.
Yeah.
That's how I would find out about like whomever it was like that I was trying to get into. And so I'm just also trying to think back to bands that I was listening to at the time, but it was really like huge Asian Man record stuff. I was just really into that stuff.
It's interesting in Southern California because
Voodoo Glow Skulls for sure.
when it's so popular.
Yeah.
And, like that there's like ways that you can almost fall into like a different tract. I think in like
Yeah.
Toronto it was a lot smaller, so it felt like everything would have to mix a little bit more at times.
I noticed that too when I would come back up. Like, so like historically, like I moved to Los Angeles with my family when I was like 2 years old, and I more or less grew up in Los Angeles. But when my dad was alive, we would be back and forth between Los Angeles and Canada.
Okay.
And so I have real strong roots to Canada and Toronto, and I feel like I'm a Canadian before an American often. But I feel really strong ties to LA, and just because I grew up there, and with that, it's like when I would come up here to go to shows, or I remember like Warped Tour would be here, and I'd go or I'd check it out, and then I'd be in bands, and we played a skate shop here, in this band Bomb the Music Industry that I played trumpet in. That was this guy Jeff Rosenstock. It was his old band.
Yeah, for sure. Where'd you guys? What skate shop would that have been?
It was
Adrift
in Kensington Market.
Yeah, Adrift.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great. Oh, that's wild. You guys played there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and then we played one place in Montreal too. I remember. I think it was we played Montreal and Quebec City, but I had touched like the Canadian Toronto punk rock scene a bit, and it did seem more mixed. Like LA definitely was like the punk shows were different than the ska shows, and there wasn't too much crossover. And like I also grew up in a time too, when like LA didn't really have a ton of house shows were a thing. There was the Smell in downtown LA where you could go, and you were never cool enough to play there. And you'd like have to be like super unique to go play shows there.
It also seems like it was adversarial with the punk scene at different times too. Like
Yeah.
it's a separate scene.
It's LA art influenced performative noise. Like there wasn't room really for like a hardcore band or whatnot. And as time, that stuff changes.
Yeah.
Now that I know that, like my friend's band Let Live, they're very big now, but like they played The Smell, and I was like, Let Live played the fucking Smell? Like that never would have happened back in like 1998 or 2003, or it just wouldn't have happened. I don't think they were a band in 98, but
There was a Dystopia show, and there was like a riot at the show.
yeah.
And that was apparently like the hard cutoff.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
then yeah. There was a place in Echo Park called Echo Curio that would do shows as I was getting older. That were, what I'm getting at is those were kind of the beacons of like independent stuff, and it was really connected to KXLU, which is, I do a radio show there still every Wednesday. It's called Noise Pollution, and that the KXLU's influence on LA music scene was very apparent, but that was always blended. It wasn't like fully punk and like or ska for that matter. And so that you had that scene going on in LA, and then you also had like just the fucking like Whiskey a Go Go, Roxy, pay to play bullshit, and we did it, you know, because there were places to play, and like Optimus Prime or Sleeper Hold, whatever we were called at the time, we played all of those spots, and you'd get like fucking tickets, and it felt so wrong. But you know, you got to get that moment, and so it was either those shows or house shows, and that was like what we would do, and now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like was going in the direction of like putting on your own shows, or then people like got old enough to open like rad venues like the Sardine, you know, and so that's where it evolved into that.
Yeah, and I feel like those pay to play shows are almost like the spurning on that you need to kind of go and start doing your own shows, because like,
those kind of suck. Like you're just like, oh yeah, like I love my mom still goes to, and she's been to some fucking shows.
Yeah.
Like I got to give her so much credit because she's just like downstairs of like a weird punk venue in Chicago with like, you know, like you know, the Second City people, and I have respect for them. They did some wild stuff. Like it was organized, but like they, you know, I always looked at my mom in this way of like, she was so like, not delicate is the wrong word, but she's your mom, you know what I mean? But then you realize like who she kicked it with and who she was around. It's like, oh yeah, she could go to anything, like no problem, you know?
Yeah, they were like doing way crazier drugs.
Yeah.
At that point than anyone could do now, like Quaaludes, like drugs they took off the market. They were so crazy.
Yeah. She was around all of that. Who knows if she did any of it, but I don't think so.
My parents definitely did.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom, I think, I'll just say my dad was around all of it, and I'm sure experimented on enough of it, but he was never hooked on any of that stuff. But my mom, I think, I know my mom never did Quaaludes.
Yeah.
Because she told me, never do Quaaludes. I almost watched a man die on Quaaludes. And I'll tell that story to friends, and they will be like, that's insane. Like, no one does those.
Yeah. You can't find lewds anymore. They're like off the market.
No, it wasn't since that Wolf of Wall Street movie did they kind of come back in the zeitgeist.
People are trying to get them. I think there's like one place in the world they still make it or something. I've like, not that I've
really?
looked into it. Yeah, like, it's certainly...
Let's do them.
Yeah, let's find some
dude.
Let's find some Quaaludes and party. It's because my parents were in Toronto.
Okay.
Like, not part of the SCTV kind of circle, but like definitely kind of like concentric kind of like kind of worlds. My dad was in the sort of the advertising world, and, and my mom was a flight attendant. But they were like, you know, my dad was saying that he used to see your dad and kind of like the kind of SCTV people would always cold court at Mr. Green Jeans.
Oh yeah, no way! Wow, yeah.
And there was like a table that they had where they would all go sit and kind of work on stuff, and
that sounds.
Go see him there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been feeling it, and since, you know, I've been up here because the movie's playing a TIFF for the listeners. It opened the festival. The movie's called John Candy, I Like Me. And during production, and then, like, anytime I've been up here, I definitely feel that energy of how cool Toronto must have been in the 70s, of being able to just, like, bump around and, like, it's a very walkable city up here, and like it's big, but it's also super duper small.
Yeah, especially circles of people in like media or entertainment or the arts.
Yeah,
I find it's like everyone knows somebody through somebody type thing.
Full on.
It's I recently learned. Well, actually, I recently relearned that Peter Aykroyd, Dan Aykroyd's brother, was in a band with Freddie Pompey from the Viletones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, called Wheelchair. And it's pre-Viletones, kind of pre-punk, but they would have been kind of like an SCTV kind of like adjacent like blues rock band, I guess.
Well, you know, it's funny, like, I didn't know that, and but it makes sense because those, when it's your family, you're like, oh, and that kind of goes back to the counterculture thing I was talking about. It's like, I'm doing something that's different, but then it's like, I had a good relationship with George Wendt before he passed away. Just, you know, friendly, and we would message each other all the time, and he totally loved punk.
Like, yeah, he was like a huge Replacements fan, right?
Big Replacements fan, but like, we would play, my current band, Bull Shannon, we would play down in
That's
Bull
awesome.
Shannon.
Yeah.
It's my we could talk about it. It's my favorite band name, but we've only played like a handful of shows, but I would tell him like, yeah, we're playing down like at the Sardine or before he passed, and he'd always try and make it out.
That's awesome.
And he had a point of view on it too. He was just like, yeah, you know what? I like the Minutemen a little bit more than Firehose. They just had that punch, and like he just knew, it was like someone who kind of knew what they were talking about. So, and then this guy Tino Insana, who was from Chicago, he was my dad's good friend. He was a voiceover actor later before he passed away. Again, though, they'd go see Fear. They would go to, they knew, he was like, oh yeah, my buddy Lee Ving and Fear, they're playing Warped Tour, or you should go meet them, or like, and you don't get it because you think that that's like your parents' job,
Yeah.
Being a flight attendant or whatever, but then you don't realize like they were in the fucking wackiest avenue of comedy that was happening. And so, of course, they know the punks, or, like, of course they know that stuff. And I always thought that was, like, a cool kind of, like, level up moment for me where I was like, oh, yeah, like, they all get it,
Yeah, and I feel like comedy is as much an influence on punk as music is.
Sure.
Like, it's the idea of, like, subverting music, and that's why punk is kind of immune to parody.
Yeah.
Because you can't be sillier than someone in a punk band already has been. Like, Kill the Poor has already been written. Like, you can't parody this thing.
Yeah.
Because it's always going to be kind of in on the joke. So everyone that comes on this podcast talks about SCTV.
Really?
Yeah, like, it's just, like, foundational.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that's like Mike Watt came up to do noise pollution with me a couple times, and I was really insecure about, like, my dad and being related to my dad and having this kind of like huge fancy celebrity kind of like, I didn't know where to place it. So, and I think I was, wanting to just like forever. And I still do that, wanting to like let everybody know who I am, like who you're talking to and all of that stuff. And I'm much more like cool with all of it, way cooler with it now as I'm older. But, when I was like 20, it was tough. And, but I remember Mike came up to KXLU, and we did the show, and then he like was walking down the hallway at KXLU, and he like turned around and looked at me, and he was like, your dad's in the TV business, isn't he? And I was like, yeah. His name was John Candy. He was this actor. He's like, Johnny LaRue! Yeah! I couldn't really tell if it was real or not. And I was like, oh God, like, awesome. I was just kind of like, it was like a very like glass break moment for me where I was like, fuck, who cares, Yeah. And so I remembered that being a good memory for sure of the crossroads of it all.
It was amazing watching the documentary, just how much of my life I can place from different films.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, that was my favorite movie at this age, and that was my favorite thing at this age. And like, I grew up on SCTV reruns, but like that was my show. Like, I would just like every day watch SCTV at 6:30, no matter what.
I thought that the doc did a good job of talking about SCTV too.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people are going to come away from watching it going like, I want to know more about that show.
There are two pieces, though, that didn't make it into the film that I feel like involve your dad that are so key to punk history.
Oh, yeah.
The Plasmatics.
Yeah.
With Gil segment, which is just, I went back and rewatched for this other thing I'm kind of working on, and just, it's such an amazing moment because I feel like, it's funny, I'm talking to this director who's actually working on a project about it right now, and we were talking about that, where you really get to see Wendy kind of be humanized a little bit in front of the camera, which is not something that happened very often. Yeah,
that's true. They did. Was it an interview with them?
It was like they came on the show and they go out with him, and it's like a whole bit, like a whole like day of shooting. It looks like.
It's funny. I saw that we have a Plasmatics record at the house that they signed, and I haven't gone deep enough in the SCTV world. I know that they had the fake punk band.
They did, which the Queen haters, but like you got to take a picture of that record. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I'll find it. I'll dig it up.
Yeah, they did the Queen haters with "I Hate the Bloody Queen,"
Yeah.
which is actually the band the Young Lions playing the music for.
Oh, okay.
They were like a local punk band. I got their demo somewhere over here.
Oh,
but,
I didn't know the history of that.
Yeah, and apparently, according to legend, when they finished recording it, they were like, "Hey guys, that's great, but can you play it again shittier? Because we need it. We need to be a little sloppier for the gag to land."
That is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Those are two of my favorite punk comedy crossover cultural moments.
Wow, wow. Yeah, I know. It's trying to get that's the difficulty with I Like Me, is that you are trying to get so much in, and the main goal with that one for me was to really get across the nuance of what he grappled with in his life.
Yeah.
And that was like excuse me, the main goal.
There's plenty of reasons not to have those scenes in the movie. I'm not saying don't see this movie because those didn't make it. Because I think you're right. Like, there's the thing that I related to a lot, which I think was why I responded so much to the movies over the years that your dad did, was because I was a big kid, and eventually everyone caught up with me.
Yeah.
But being the big kid, I was always like, there's no, like, I related to seeing a big person on the screen.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of attention you attract as a bigger person.
Yeah.
Than, like, everyone's like, "Hey, big guy," like automatically got that nickname.
Yeah. What's up, big guy? Or,
yeah.
I totally can relate, because I grew up as a big kid and was like grappled with weight, and clothes didn't fit the way you wanted them to, and all that shit. And I know that was. Yeah, the movie does a really good job, I think, of like explaining what he was up against with that stuff, because it really played on him, and it forced him into like a corner, I think, that it would not be fun for anyone to be in regards to how to carry yourself throughout the world.
It also exposes how terrible Canadian interviewers
were. We got to save it for people who see it, but yeah, it's
nuts.
It's fucked. It's so fucked. Yeah, you just, like, when I saw the first edit, I was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, how, like, but you know it, because you're Canadian, there is this, like, and maybe there still is, or there was, but this, like, yeah, we're buddies. Like, I'm cracking a joke with the comedy guy. And you're like, oh my God, like.
There's a tall poppy syndrome in Canada that's not really talked about, because, like, there's a certain level that you ascend to where people just assume they know you, and there's, like, almost like, I'm going to chop this person down to my size as soon as they get into this thing.
I've never heard of it. That's so, that is so accurate, because it's kind of hard to explain. It's like, yeah, I've always noticed that there's this, like, Canadians are super polite, and I have to say, like, coming from Los Angeles, where we have, like, fucking nightmare, ICE Gestapo raids going on, and all the terribleness that's happening down there. It's like, we now, it's like you come into this country and you don't have to deal with that at all. And you don't have, like, you're in a place where people respect each other, and there's, like, a tolerance for everybody. But there is this through line of, like, yeah, all right, I'm not gonna let you get too high.
Yeah, like, it's like a very tolerant place, maybe not accepting at times in some ways.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
and I feel like, and when I say Canada, I mean Toronto. I think Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto. Yeah, well, it's cool though. Like, I don't know, you go into, like, it's just balanced. I don't know. Maybe if I stayed here long enough, I would sense more what you're talking about. But I've always explained Toronto as, like, the doorstep to the world a bit more, since it's such a melting pot and there's so many different cultures, and it's just like, it doesn't, I know racism and all of that stuff still exists in Canada, and it's definitely still a problem, but, like, as it does in America and all that stuff. But, like, I feel like it's different than what I think you come across sometimes in the States. It just is. I will definitely agree to that point for sure.
Yeah, like, I feel like there's like
what it is? There's a sense of, like, the country's trying to turn the boat around, at least. Yeah. Of, like, it may be a slow turn, but we're gonna, like, acknowledge native cultures, and we're gonna do this part of, like, we're gonna at least do that. And, like, there's such a blind eye happening stateside that's like not for me, but, like, the people I associate with. But, like, when you come up here, it's just like that part is really great. But then, yeah, there's also the just, like, Oh yeah, so Johnny Toronto, huh? You're really coming up in the world, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And I feel like it's also people like they know you, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm watching that and like you heard about when the mention of Dawnlands, the theater on Dawnlands.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I'm like that's my neighborhood. Like,
Yeah.
there's a familiarity that which breeds contempt a little bit in like a way that you're just like,
Oh yeah, big time.
and especially in the media space where someone makes it and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm still trapped here.
Yeah. We get that too. So I mean, a lot of Canadians wish I think he was buried up here, but you know, I'm really happy he's in like Inglewood, Westchester area, and it's a beautiful place, and it's just like, yeah, but he's good. He's by the beach. He's chilling. You know.
Why does he like the Islanders? Why was that his team? Do you know?
I don't know actually. I don't know the reason for that. Oh, all good. Um, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Because like it's such a Toronto thing to love
Yeah.
Toronto hockey, and I definitely was not a fan of it as a kid.
Right.
So.
He was a fan of football. Obviously, he was a fan of sports. But he was pretty loyal, I think. Yeah, I will say this though. Like I remember him just ingesting sports. Like I think so. You know, he was. You know, when I was a kid, it was like Kings games, and you know, a ton of Argonaut stuff. But you know, baseball game would be on. He just kind of. I remember. It's funny. Like this is actually a funny story. But like when in the process for this movie, we had to digitize a lot of stuff, and then it was also like there's so much, but then we had to find more. You have to find as much as you can, and so when he passed away, he had a production house in an office that was on the west side of LA, and everything got boxed up and sent to this place called Iron Mountain, which is like a very nice organized storage facility, and just kind of sat there for years, you know. And my mom just like I knew it was there, and I had to go in and kind of work on it a little bit. But with this process, really working through all of it. But you get to the like the tapes that have no label on it. Like there was like one tape that had I think like Manson's face on it, or it was just like you know like the but and you're like fuck what, like you know every kid's nightmare is he's gonna find his dad's porn or something like that, you know. It's like so you're like fuck, all right, here it is. So I go, can I watch these videos, you know, I just need to know what's on them. And so we go up to, they have like a screening place, and I'm so fucking nervous. I'm like, god damn it. And then but whatever, all right, let's just go. And so we start popping him in, and it's like you forget the era he was alive. They taped hockey games or boxing matches because they didn't have it on the YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's like 90% of them were sporting events, and then the Manson tape was actually just the court story of the Manson thing that was just like on it, and I was like, okay, like you know, and the knock, it's like. The knock we had with this project was like, did you go deep enough? And I'm like, I'm positive we did, because like, I mean, unless, you know, but it's just like that's who he was. He was a pretty good dude who had some real human demons that he grappled with that we all do.
Yep. No, and obviously I lost my mom at a very different time in my life, but when I lost my mom, going through her stuff and just finding out about things that I'm like, huh, that's a whole side of her that I just didn't know existed. And she's like a human being. And so, of course, these sides of her are there. But just as a kid, you're never like, I wonder what my mom keeps under her bed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. and when they pass, you have to grapple with that.
Yes.
And so the movie shares a little bit of that. But, you know, that's... Yeah, I understand.
I kind of want to put notes on certain records in this record collection, being like, now here's why this is here. Before you judge, you know, books as well. Just like, listen.
I know. It's so true. It's like, yeah. He was totally a curious dude, so it was just like fully like, But nothing super crazy. At least from... We looked everywhere, at least what we had and stuff like that, so...
Yeah, no, it definitely... It's fun. I've had a couple people on that have made documentary projects about parents who've passed away, and just like it's something that not anyone would get to do, dive into your family like that.
It's true.
And it's like before my mom passed away, she was on the podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm just so glad I had that investigation
Yeah.
into them, because like, you try and understand who these people are, and especially like once you have kids,
Yeah.
you lose your individuality in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
like you are still this very rounded
Right.
person.
It's true. Yeah, you and you're learning about them as a person. That's so cool you got that time to do that. That's the best.
It's like one of the only things that I'm like have procrastinated on, and then eventually just been like, fuck it, let's do it. And I'm like, just like, damn it, I'm glad I did that
Good.
with my mom and my dad, and it's just there's like a lot of people that you just like. That's kind of why I started the podcast, because there's just so many people in my life, more on a professional basis, like making music, that I'm like, I would love to like just like really find out the minutia, their experience to a level that is just not socially acceptable to do in any other situation but a podcast.
It's true. I remember saying to the director Colin, I was talking to a friend. I was like, "This is I'm very fortunate that this opportunity is here right now, and I don't ever want to come across like I'm taking it for granted, you know." And so, but I just was very honored to get the opportunity, the funding, all of the stuff to be able to get this for me, because like I would end up getting like to sit in. I sat in on like 80% of the interviews. And you know, you would just get a set of headphones, and I've said it before in interviews, but it was like getting a 2-hour podcast by Dave Thomas about your dad, or a 2-hour podcast from Catherine O'Hara, or his best friend, or you know, it's like Pat Kelly. Like, just you get these really intimate conversations, and then that's also where, if you go broad enough in the process, like you start to see the things that are true.
Mm-hmm.
You just can circle them, because you've interviewed now at that point like 30 people, and it's like they're all saying this or they're all saying this, and then there was a time where I was like, no one's really wanting to go deep. So then it was like, as me helping, going like, these two people will go deep. You know, let's go to them now, and that really helped. But I will say, just for people when they do get a chance, it comes out on Prime on the 10th. And then if you don't want to do that, it's going to be going to place a few festivals. It's playing festivals now, and then it's going to be Ryan Reynolds is doing this cool little promo tour with it, where all the money's going to St. Jude's.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, they there's going to be, like, if you want to see it in theater, that's what I mean. He's going to be playing a few, like L.A., New York, Toronto again. And all of that stuff. But yeah, so it was a great experience for sure. So
yeah, because it feels like, you know, like I look at the people in it, right? Like everyone has this relationship where they kind of wanted to say nice things. Like people that aren't notoriously nice behind the scenes, and people I've even interacted with that weren't very nice behind the scenes, all said very nice things. And you know, that was like you're saying, there's certain things you can kind of circle on.
Yeah, and a lot of people, that's how they behave. There's an observation in this about generations. You know, one generation doesn't really like to go certain places, and then your generation, mine, it's maybe a little easier to kind of talk about that kind of stuff, and that was kind of the main objective with it. But yeah, it was totally an honor to be able to do it, and I'm happy that it's turned out the way it did. I'm very happy with the way it is.
Do you want to do more documentaries? Is that your kind of like thing you kind of want to work in, or?
Yeah, I mean, I produced this, and I produced Bill Bartel. Bill Bartel more on like a last. It was like final phases. I had just come off directing some music videos for Coldplay, actually, of all things.
I saw that.
Yeah.
They seem like super nice people.
No, they're great.
That's
and there's a funny story with them. But like in the midst of all the Coldplay stuff and how they're in this bubble of like pop and rock and all of this stuff, they're the greatest guys. Their stage manager is this guy named Paul Trainer, I believe. He was like, what I have a respect for with that band is they're a huge operation. Like it's crazy. It's just like a city travels with them. But their stage manager was this British dude who was like, he was Motorhead's sound guy. He was like a roadie for Motorhead, and he was like telling the craziest Motorhead stories to me. It was just like and all of those dudes are like hanging out, like they work really hard, but then they kind of like they party hard. You know, they're
Yeah.
like the crew dudes, and it's like a city of crew people. And you didn't hear it from me, but there's a rumor there's like little bars underneath the stage where they're all hanging out having darts and fucking shooting them back. But he was like telling me, he was like he's working the whole show, this guy though. He's and I only met him once, so I don't want to speak like he's my best buddy, but he was sharing all these stories, and like he was telling about working for Lemmy, and Lemmy would throw like a bag of speed and like 2 bottles of vodka on the boat on the bus and be like, this has got to be gone by the morning. And all the all the like roadies would be like finding clever ways to hide it because they just couldn't, if they, you know, they
Couldn't party anymore.
no way. Yeah, you know, like you know, like maybe first night. I don't know. It was. I always thought that was a funny story, but you're hearing it in like the midst of like the Coldplay universe, which is totally opposite.
Yeah.
Very nice people though. Yeah.
They have a self-release 7-inch too. That's like, I've never seen a copy in real life.
Oh, is that the one that just came out?
No, like they did it way back.
Oh.
The first record they ever did was like a self-release 7-inch.
Huh.
I remember hearing about in like, you know, Rarest Records in like the early 2000s, and I'm like, wow, you think over the years, like I've seen a Butcher Baby Beatles record, I've seen like most of
Some
these
stuff,
records,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm like, that thing just never turns up. I guess Coldplay fans are.
They're it's huge. Like it's like a Michael Jackson level, like kind of like the atmosphere and the like kind of world of it. But
It's like 100. Like we were on a tour with the Foo Fighters, and it was like 100 people on the tour. Like
yeah,
executives, catering, like
exactly. It feels like that. I mean, we got to go down to Australia, my girlfriend and I, and we work on these videos together, and they yeah, it was cool. But you know, to circle it back to Dave Markey, it's like that's kind of like how it works sometimes. Like you're a punk or you're into that kind of music, and like of course you're going to go work in these like bigger atmospheres of these other universes. Like that's what they want. They want people who kind of have like a little bit of an idea of not just their world, you know, to kind of add some flavor to what they're cooking. So I don't know. I guess I say that because I was so like, punk is so you know, like it really is a state of mind to me, as opposed to like the way you look nowadays. And so I think if you're a good person, I think if you're going through life with like honesty and love, that's like the most punk rock thing you could do. And so it's like all good, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of view it now as I keep getting older and stuff.
it's like a religion. It just like
It kind of is, yeah. It's true.
It never leaves you once
Yeah.
you kind of get infected by it, and it's. I don't know. I definitely. You know, it's interesting when you meet people that have gone so far in their journey.
Yeah.
But there's certain shorthands where if you bring up Gigi Allen or Ian MacKaye
Yeah.
or Jello Biafra or Mike Watt, like everyone knows these people. It's almost like
Totally.
saints from the from biblical lore or something.
It's super true, and it's kind of like, it's funny, what sect are you? You
Yeah.
know, like
Yep.
it's because like I never got into tons of like Gigi Allen stuff, but like just because of my like after I got out of the like, not out of it, but you kind of get you're not listening to ska punk as much, and you're starting to listen to other stuff. It's like I went into college into like hardcore. It was like fucking, like I said, Bad Brains, Black Flag, and I was in this band Choto Ghetto, and I really wanted us to sound like Bad Brains, even though we didn't. Like I was like, this is like, I just want to sound like this, because I also was really into this band Glassjaw, which was like a hardcore band from Long Island that was on this Warped Tour that I was on in 2003.
The Post Sons of Abraham band.
Yeah, the dude Beck had that band. Yeah.
I saw Sons of Abraham.
They were like a
few
Jewish
times.
hardcore band, right?
Yeah, they were like, like, and they stayed at my friend's house a couple times. I saw them a few times over the years. I think I still have their LP.
Yeah, and they started Glassjaw, and,
Yeah.
and like, they really were a band that I saw on that Warped Tour. On that Warped Tour, I worked for the Plea for Peace Foundation, which was Mike Park's nonprofit, and so I met everybody there in regards to like music, and like even my friend Jeff Rosenstock, who your listeners might know or not know, really like a rad musician. We play in Bull Shannon together now, but like met there, you know, and he was in a band called the Arrogant Sons of Bitches, and he was just like, come play trumpet with us. And they were crashing the Warped Tour every day. They would literally just show up, and the security at the time was so like new, you know, each security at each festival is a new team, so they have no idea. You just show up and say like, oh hey, like we're just checking in for the day. They have no idea, so
Yeah.
they would play. Anyways, but I after that I got really into hardcore, and I really wanted that band to sound like that, and we did for a long time, and then we had a really good rhythm section, so the drummer and the bass player could do more complicated stuff, so we ended up going kind of more in the like Faith No More type world, even kind of a little bit of like Mars Volta type stuff. But yeah, anyways, that band ended in the pandemic, and now it's still going. Excuse me, I don't want to say ended. It's just kind of on pause. But Bull Shannon started, and then that's kind of what I've been cooking with recently, and that's super fun. 3 basses in that band.
3 basses?
Yeah. 3 bass, drums.
I was in a band with 2 bass players one time, but
really?
3 is definitely...
We started as 2. It was just 2 and the drummer. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very Watt.
Yeah, well, it was. It was funny too because we were originally going to call the band Cuz, and then the bass I play is Mike's bass because when the pandemic was happening, I had such like a frustrated moment where I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna like buy the bass I want to like play, and I'm gonna learn bass. I never knew how to play."
Yeah.
And Norwood from Fishbone, he teaches lessons. Shout out to Norwood if you want to learn a bass lesson or you're a bass player. He does really dope Zoom sessions that are really, he'll teach you an amazing way to play bass. Took those and then we started Bull Shannon, but it was originally called Cuz, and I emailed Mike because I was so like nervous. I'm like such a rook, like I have your bass, and I'm like, oh, I bought your bass, da 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 da. And I was like, the band's called Cuz, and he was like, oh, brother Chris, like I have the same band called Cuz. What inspired yours? I was like, well, like Hawaiian people say Cuz all the time, but we changed it.
Yeah. Of course he has a band called that. He's got like a band probably...
He's got 45 bands.
Exactly.
Throw a dart and you'll hit a Mike Watt band name.
Yeah, he's definitely like one of those guys that... I don't know, I can't think of someone who's like more of a positive person to kind of run into on your journey. Like my friend met him when he was like 13 doing a zine, and he was like writing him in the early days of email, and then one day forgot to BCC his entire email list. So my friend at 13 got like all the Beastie Boys email addresses, all the Sonic Youth.
He used to do those Bofus. Yeah. Did you ever get those emails?
I got the Bofus ones, but this would have been like 19. It must have been the first Bofus ones because it's been like 94, 95. And so my friend was like, "Dear, like Mike D, do you want to come and do an interview on my zine?"
Oh my god, dude!
It was like this amazing score for him as like a young kid.
You know who used to do that a lot was I was good buddies with Richard Lewis before he passed away, and he was like I didn't know. I knew him later in life. Didn't know him through my father, but we connected because of my father. But he was like kind of a mentor. But he had like the most ridiculous relationship with like messaging people. And so you would get like at like 4 a.m, like an email, and you were like on the email with like Albert Brooks's assistant and a guitar player for Pink Floyd, or I don't know, or it was just someone who works at CNN and it was just like a little story that was on YouTube that Lewis found about himself that he was wanting to share, or like a great tweet he had. And so like, I love like old dude, social media email interactions.
Yeah. I was trying to use the 7-Eleven app at the store the other day with my kid, and my kid had to show me how to do it. And then the person behind the counter was like, I have to help my parents with technology too. Like, man, I guess I crossed that line.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't have kids, but I definitely have like hit a wall of technology where I'm just like, I think I can skip this one. My sister was talking to me about like some doll, like the Boo Boo doll thing or whatever.
The Boo Boos.
I was like, I think I can skip this one because like I don't need to know about it because like it'll phase out, and I think I'll just no space, like CPU overload. Yeah,
like if you go to like any school that's coming back right now, the kids are like flooded with bootleg Labubu's hanging off. My middle kid just has a severed head of one hanging off their belt.
Hell yeah. That's amazing.
Because they break the bootleg so easily. But I don't want to keep you all day because you're in Toronto, and I figure you got some stuff to do. Yeah, no, I'm gonna do some Second City stuff tonight. If you're around, you want to come to a Second City show? Oh, I'd love to, but it's unfortunately playoff baseball for my kids right now. So. All good. Yeah, that's what it definitely is like a hard thing to realize. Like, oh, I'm not gonna have any nightlife anymore, and like I think that's once again probably why I do the podcast, so I can kind of keep in touch with people, because I also realize normal people and me don't really fit.
Oh,
and,
right,
like,
right,
you know,
right.
Being the parents on the baseball team, I'm like, yeah, they don't get the shorthand of bringing up Mike Watt. Like,
Yeah, fully. It's refreshing to have a conversation in Toronto because I don't know. I have a handful of friends here, but it's nice to meet people who are definitely part of the scene, and especially tethered back to like all the SoCal Jordan, Dave Markey world. Because just to say it, that punk rock world that they fostered is like really really cool. Like,
Yeah.
and the Bill Bartel doc, if you get a chance to watch it, does a really good job of explaining how special it was.
And we're not just connected through that. We're also connected through Colin Hanks.
Was he on the show?
No, but when Breaking Bad's finale was airing, he was filming in Alberta and put out a message on Twitter that he would like someone's house to go watch because they didn't have it at the hotel.
Shut up.
And went over to my friend Josiah Hughes' house and Sarah, his partner. They played in a bunch of bands that have opened for my band on tour. And then he was on Conan relating the story. I think it was on Conan. And at the end, he's like, "What was it like?" He's like, "They were pretty weird." And I can definitely echo Colin's thing, Colin's feelings. They're a little weird. But you might say the same thing. So you've now been to my weird ass house too.
No. I mean, dude, I dig. It's a breath of fresh air, honestly, in the sea of like all of the proper publicity that has to go into promoting a big movie or a proper doc release. It's nice to just talk about the stuff I like to talk about.
Well, fresh air and stale weed smoke down here.
Oh, dude, right at home, man. No, seriously, like it's all good. It's the coolest. Yeah.
Well, Chris, anytime you want to come and talk about punk or movies, you are always welcome in the basement.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.